Good evening. Good evening. Chiming in a little bit. What's going on? Give everybody a chance to come in. We are a few announcements before we do some free training. Uh, uh, August 29th, which is a Tuesday, from I think it's 1 to 4. We're having our low board mastery seminar training with Chasa Donald of Legacy Dispatchers. Let me put the link there. That's the first announcement. She had a hey Lena, how are you? She had a Shasta had a cold calling uh seminar, cold calling today. Hey everyone. Hello, LaDonna, hello, Candy Nails, Candy Coated Nails, the Buffalo Soldiers, Lena. Hope everyone's good. A few announcements coming in before we get training. I see 17 people in here. Click the thumbs up, please. So, Low Board Mastery Seminar, Tuesday, August 29th, from 1 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself and Legacy Dispatchers will um, do the low board training there specifically. Um, she has every Friday this month, she does a Zoom. She got several emails today, but she got about 16 emails, but no one showed up for the code. She does a cold calling, live cold call training, and no one showed up. So I'm not sure why the people email, but you want to learn how to cold call carriers to dispatch for. That is what that was for. So, but I put the links here for the August 29th low board mastery mastermind seminar. Registered with Legacy Dispatchers. I have partnered with them to go over the low boards. That's announcement number one. Announcement number two on the dispatcher side is Labor Day week. We are, if you want to come see me in person live, you can come to the Exodus Logistics Learning Center for a live in person week long training, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Uh, Monday through Friday, live in person at the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, 3101 American Legion Road, Suite 21A, Chesapeake, Virginia, 23321. We'll do live in person trainings. So, what do you get with that on Monday? We'll go over the basics. What is freight dispatching and what are freight dispatchers? Uh, and then what are the prerequisites to being a freight dispatcher? On Tuesday, we will cover the dispatcher packets and the supporting documents therein. Wednesday, we will go over the equipment types. Thursday, we will cover the ways to get the carriers to dispatch for and the process and workflow of dispatching itself. And then Friday, we'll hit you with a quiz and some certificates. So, all live in person. Okay. So, right now, we want to do some training, some questions, Q&A. Live free training right now for those of you who are interested and wanting some questions answered. Shoot. What are your questions? What are your questions? I come on here to provide that value add for you guys. The questions that you may have as it relates to the industry. What's going on in the industry? Several what is it? Surge Transportation. I think they filed for bankruptcy. Yellow Trucking, I believe it is. Yellow Transportation, Yellow Trucking. Um, have they're going through some issues with their uh, management, things of that nature. Um, so how does that affect dispatchers? Well, they're the trucking side, so there's less trucks to deal with. They are a carrier, large carrier, so they had assets, but for some reason they couldn't handle the management of the company for whatever reason in such a way that it causes them to shut down their whole network. So, also, there is an AI, an artificial intelligence autonomous trucking company that completely shut their company down. They were trying to do what's called autonomous or driverless trucks on the roads. They were experimenting with that particular company. There are others, but that particular company shut down. I forget the name of it. Name escapes me. Green something, I think it was. But so that's in it as well. So Carlos says, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said the discounts do not apply to people who have already paid for the 1-day seminar. Are you, so what are you referring to? So the enrollment into the ongoing online training, Carlos? So if you took a 1-day seminar and you wanted to enroll in our ongoing training, what you paid for the seminar, yes, it can be deducted from the cost of the online 90-day training. Okay. In addition to that, we are having right now, and from now, August, the beginning of August until the end of August, we're having a $200 off sale of our online self-paced 90-day course as well. So there you have it. So you can come in if you took the seminar. So the current price of the 90-day ongoing training is $599. Okay. Let's say you took a seminar, which was, what was that? $199, I believe it was. So whichever is a better value, you can apply both. You can apply the discount from the seminar and the $200 off. It's either one or the other. I would apply the one that has more value, right? Well, they both seem like it's the same because $199 off or $200 off is the same thing. So even if you have this discount going to, he said, okay, he answered. Okay, so good. Any other questions related to the industry? Where are you guys in your processes? Where are you guys in transportation? One of my, I won't say the young lady's name, but one of the young ladies who was a dispatch student actually called. I was going to, but she beat me to the punch, right? Called the FMCSA because there's a lot of chatter, right, going around about dispatchers and like being illegal. You can't dispatch and things like that, right? So, and you can't dispatch for multiple trucks and all this other stuff. So the person who she spoke to at the FMCSA, for those who don't know what the FMCSA stands for, it is a subsidiary of the DOT, Department of Transportation. The FMCSA stands for the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. It's the governing body. They're the ones who issue the authorities to the motor carriers and the freight brokers and the freight forwarders as well. Anyway, she spoke to a representative of the FMCSA. They told her that we don't even regulate dispatchers. We regulate brokers, freight forwarders, and motor carriers. We don't regulate dispatchers. Now, the point in this concept is they did come out with some guidelines where, and I feel like I'm circling around with this subject, but I spoke about it before, but the FMCSA came out with some guidelines saying dispatchers can do this, 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 and this. If they behave outside of the guidelines and do this, 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 and this, then they are required to become a freight broker, and they have to file for a broker authority and get a bond and all those other things that brokers do, because the dispatchers have left the realm of what dispatchers do and have moved into the realm of what brokers do. For example, dispatchers cannot go to a shipper and get loads. Well, first of all, shippers are not going to give loads to a dispatcher. But let's say you tricked one, right? One of the shippers was kind of slow, and they said, okay, I got some shipments for you, some tenders, and they gave it to them. A dispatcher cannot get loads from shipments from a customer, post them on a load, and move them as a broker with the motor carriers. That's what freight brokers do. Freight brokers are the ones who arrange for the transportation by procuring the shipments from the customers and brokering them for a fee to the motor carriers. Dispatchers cannot do that. The only thing dispatchers can do, you set up your company, you set up your business, you get your business name, you register your business as whatever structure you register it as. Most cases, it's an LLC, limited liability company, and then you attach an EIN to that. Now you are an operating company, right? Articles of organizations or articles of corporation or whatever applies to you in your state. You have a company set up. Then you contract or you get under a dispatcher agreement or a contract between you and another company, because an owner operator that's a trucking company, right? A carrier owner operator, they are companies, right? So two companies coming together to agree upon some terms, that is perfectly legal, right? You have that contract is legally binding. So your dispatcher agreement says, hey, I'm a dispatch service. You are a carrier, a trucking company, an owner operator. I am offering or soliciting to you my dispatch services for this fee. This is what I do. If you agree to that, then to the terms, sign this or fill this out and return this agreement to me. And there are other documents involved in that, but that's the gist of the relationship between the dispatch service and the truck driver or the motor carrier or the owner operator, right? Nothing illegal about that. That's a perfectly legally binding two-party contract, right? So your job as a dispatch service is to do just that. Provide the service of getting the loads or keeping that truck driver's truck or their trailer, I should say, their equipment type loaded with freight and running consistently in such a way that they are satisfied with your service to be motivated enough to pay you for that. Now, how are those things done is where potentially myself and other individuals who call themselves trainers come in at and assist you with how that's done, providing you to recognize certain equipment types you want to go after first, how to look for them on the load boards, how to keep them running in certain areas where they can get freight into and out of, and other things, understanding the language, the jargon, all the terms, talking to a freight broker, because you're going to be dealing with freight brokers a lot as new dispatch services, because you're coming in as someone who knows very little, if anything, about the industry, because my training is structured for beginners. Can a dispatcher contact a shipper on behalf of a carrier? Yes, you can. You can. You can be you can say I'm the logistics person for this trucking company. Okay. On behalf of the carrier. You can't contact them as a dispatch service trying to get loads as a dispatcher and then sell those loads to different carriers. You cannot do that. So there's a thin line in that question, okay? Because in the guidelines break it down very specifically. And then you have people. So there was a gentleman who come out with a YouTube video that one of my students sent to me. This gentleman is a freight broker. Okay. Most freight brokers who are, and this gentleman is a broker who's a member of TIA. Okay. TIA is Transportation Intermediary Association, the group of disgruntled brokers who had filed legislation with the FMCSA or with Congress or with the Senate to try to bring out legislation to prevent brokers from doing things that would not benefit the carriers but benefit the brokers, right? Like, for example, being able to disclose or not what the shipper is paying the broker. So being transparency so that the carriers can see what's being paid to the broker so that they can know whether or not the broker is taking too much money from the tenders that the shippers are giving to the brokers, keeping it for themselves and not giving the majority of the money to to the carriers. Okay. So the brokers were legislating to keep that data or that information concealed, right? As a motor carrier, I would like to know what the shipper is paying the broker, so that I can know if the broker's trying to get over on me. So, right? I would rather a broker to operate fair. If it's a fair market rate, don't take too much money off the top. There's enough money in the industry for everybody to eat, right? Brokers should get a percentage of the tender, but the majority of the money should go to the party or the company that's doing the majority of the work. And that's the motor carrier. They're the ones who are physically picking up the loads for the customers, the shippers, and physically transporting them to the receivers or the consignees or the customers, the receivers, right? The broker is just pushing paperwork in that process. Okay. The majority of the money, in my opinion, should go to the person who's doing the majority of the work. Now, that is fair, in my opinion. Now, so this broker, this person who come out with a YouTube video, they have a YouTube channel. They come out with a YouTube video. They are a member of TIA. Okay. And the reason I'm saying like that, because TIA has a thing against dispatchers. Okay. So why would I trust or believe as a dispatch service a person who is my known enemy, if you will, for lack of a better word? I try to be as level as possible to say that dispatchers need to do this, and this. So sometimes people have a tendency to take what the guidelines of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration has placed and misconstrue and misinterpret them, the guidelines, for their own benefit. And that is the case here with this particular individual who came out with these different guidelines. They interpreted what the FMCSA said. I've read the guidelines, so I understand it clearly. That's why I'm not even worried about when people say, well, I can't dispatch anymore. I can't dispatch for multiple trucks. I can't dispatch for multiple equipment types. I'm like, what are you talking about? So, and for the FMCSA representative that was called and asked about this, telling us that we don't even regulate dispatchers. We don't regulate dispatch services. That is confirmation for me enough right there. They regulate the people who they give the authority to, who they give authorization to do the business with. The reason why they don't regulate the dispatchers is because the dispatchers is in agreement with someone with whom they do regulate, which is the carrier. So the FMCSA is looking at it like this. Okay, well, we're regulating you. As long as you act within your guidelines, you can contract with whoever you want. But if you go outside of the scope of what we give you as a guidance to behave under, then that's a problem. So that's why in my trainings, I always tell the dispatchers to just do it the right way. Don't pretend to be a broker. Just contract with your carrier and find them the loads with the brokers. Get with some good brokers who are fair and want to give good rates, competitive market rates to the carrier, so that the carrier can run consistently and make money, as well as you make money for providing that service to them as a dispatch service. So when you hear all this other, so this has been going on for, let's see, how long have I been hearing this? Every year will come out, like since 2019, I believe. And every year is something, it's similar, but it's different, right? So some freight brokers, I don't want to say all, because there are some good freight brokers. Some freight brokers believe that dispatchers are acting as glorified brokers. What do I mean by that? And there are some dispatchers who are acting as glorified brokers, either out of ignorance that they don't know, or out of intent that they do know, right? Where they'll do things that brokers are licensed to do and bonded to do, and they do not have to have a bond. No dispatcher is required to have an MC or a DOT. But when you behave as someone who does or who is required to have an MC and a DOT and a bond in order to arrange for transportation, which is the freight broker, then you, the dispatcher, are acting outside of your role as a dispatcher and are acting in the role of a freight broker. And it is at that point that you should be required to get your broker authority and to get a bond, right? Until then, you should stay within the guidelines of what the FMCSA has literally said that dispatchers can. So the FMCSA, they are for dispatch. They don't not like dispatchers, right? They even said it in their commentary before they came out with the guidelines that dispatchers are needed, right, in the industry, right? So, and they said, well, if you behave in these guidelines, then you're fine. Until you go outside of the guidelines, then there's an issue, right? So the question becomes, for those who don't have the guidelines, you have to go online, FMCSA site, or email us. I think I have them in my folders on my computer, and I can get them to you. So if you stay within the parameters of the governing body of the industry that you're currently in, and trying to make money in transportation as a dispatching service, if you stay within the parameters of what they've told you to stay within, then you should be fine. It is not until you step outside of the parameters that there may be issues, right? So as long as you stay clear of that, you should be fine. All right. I just wanted to address that a little bit. I didn't want to beat a dead horse, because a horse has been dead. It's a corpse at this point. Is pretty much decomposing, because it's just ridiculous. It's pretty much a waste of time, in my opinion. But some people may hear this for the very first time and wondering what we're talking about, right? So it needs to be kind of brought out a little bit more. So, okay. Sorry about that. Checking my phone. So yeah. So any questions? Any other questions besides this dispatcher illegal legal kind of thing, or anything about the actual industry itself? Where you guys at? Any questions about equipment types, the process, what have you? All right. Free training. I'm here all week. Well, it's Friday, so um, any questions? No questions? People ask me to come on, and there are no questions. So what's going on? What's going on? Are you guys worried about the state of the industry, the economy, the market, the rates being low? So in life, you have ups and downs, right? Ebbs and flows. If you weather the storm, then you'll be able to come out on the horizon into the sunshine, right? So, you know, just weather the storm, stay the pace, stay the course, and you should be fine. Focus on what we train you to focus on, which is the three major equipment types as opposed to the specialties. There's nothing wrong with the specialty equipment types. It's just that the three major equipment types are easier to dispatch for, and it's an easier barrier to entry for you new dispatching services. That's correct, Carlos. That's been the talk, but I've heard from experienced people that it's just part of it, like any other business. That is correct. Businesses have ups, businesses have downs. That is correct. So um, do not let that up and down process deter you from your goal. Because moving towards your goal, you're going to have obstacles that you got to go around or go up and over and under it. But the horizon is still there. You see the end result. You just got to get past the obstacles. Okay, so um, usually every 7 years there are highs and lows. So yeah, I kind of believe that, but maybe less. Um, so the trucking industry is essential. The market's not going anywhere. We Everything is being that we wear is shipped to us in a truck. So how do I get the phone numbers of people with the three major equipment types? So in our training, this is Hector Gaming asking that question. In our training, we have resources like load boards and other resources in our tools and resources, or in our forms and documents, or in our module 2 in our self-paced module training. That let's use a load board, for example, where you do a search for a specific equipment type, like for example Trucking Planet. That particular load board, you can go in there and you can look up carriers, and then you can look up specific equipment type carrier, truckload carriers like dry van, reefer, and flatbeds. And then it'll show you a list of carriers, and it'll have all their data in there: first, last name, their equipment type, how many assets they have, their phone numbers, and their emails. So I don't know what's taking Trucking Planet so long, but I've reached out to them a while ago and asked, is there a way to export that data into an Excel spreadsheet so that it can be imported into some kind of campaign, like a text campaign or a email campaign, where you can send out one scripted message to a list of people, right? But that's just one way you can get phone numbers, emails. You just go to the resource, like a load board. Okay. So, right. Um, any other questions? No, yes, maybe. No other questions? Okay. We'll be closing on 30 minutes. It's 26 minutes. So just wanted to come in here. Let me repeat the previous um, messages I had. Every Friday in the month of August, today was included, but no one showed up today. But no, this is not something I'm doing on Friday. I just popped in because I was finishing up some work in my home office, and I said, let me just go on a Zoom. I want to have Sunday at 11 a.m. regular training for my regular enrolled students, Buffalo Soldiers. But uh, Legacy Dispatchers, which is a partner with the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, she's doing live cold calls every Friday from, I think it was 1 to 4. And she gave her email out in one of our Zoom trainings, and she got about 13 to 15, 17 emails. And no one showed up to the training today to her because she said, if you wanted to participate in the cold calls, if you email me, I'll send you the Zoom link and you come in, and you're going to actually be doing cold calls to get practice calling real carriers and making the mistakes. How else are you going to learn? Right. So, so every Friday of this month, Legacy Dispatchers will be doing live cold calls, right? And you can email her at legacydispatchers@gmail.com and go from there. And then August 29th, which is a Tuesday, from 1 to 4, I put the link up here. We are having Legacy Dispatchers and myself are having a load board mastermind where we go through the load boards very detailed. And it'll be based off of her carriers. We'll be going to be booking loads with her carriers and showing you guys the process. So let me grab that link for you once again and put it here. So register for that if you haven't already. Okay. And then as it relates to myself, Labor Day week, September 4th, that Monday through Friday, September 4th through September 8th, and beyond, every first and third week of each month, starting in September, I will be having both dispatcher and freight broker live in-person trainings, week-long trainings for dispatchers and freight brokers. Well, since this is a dispatch channel, I'll just talk about the dispatcher one. The dispatcher one will be from 9 a.m. to noon, that 3-hour time frame. Monday through Friday, we'll go over different concepts, and we'll talk about dispatching, dispatchers, dispatching, equipment types, the workflow of dispatching, talking to brokers, negotiating, things of that nature. What's her email? I'll put that in there in a second. I'm reading up. Is this an okay time to get into dispatching? Anytime is an okay time. I know the markets are up and down. So what's her email? That's off. That's awesome. I have to try and get in, but the time frame is right bad right now. So her email for every Friday this month of August, every Friday from I think it's 1 to 4 or 2 to 4, is legacy. I'm putting it in the chat here, dispatchers at gmail.com. Her name is Chasa Donald. And let her know you want to register for the next cold calling Zoom. So if you really want to do it, because if you come in, she's going to want you to make a call to get the experience, to make a cold call a carrier and see how you sound when you're trying to solicit your service as a dispatch service, just to see what the carrier, positive or negative feedback, because you learn from positive and negative experiences, right? Positive experiences, what to continue to do. Negative experiences, what not to do next time, right? So, let's see. How do I find old MC truckers, since I have heard it's easier to get lows for them? Low boards, safer. So FMCSA, those are several ways. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking at the emails, or not the emails, the chats to see, make sure that I get everybody. All right. So yeah, I'm assuming you're saying it's easier to get them older one. I'm assuming you're saying newer MC, those who just applied for their operating authority. Fadim 82, FAHDM 82. So those who just applied for their motor carrier authority are listed in the FMCSA's register on this safer website, where the authority is not active yet, but at least you see their information that they have applied for it and paid that $300 for the application. And the FMCSA had journaled their information into their registered database. You could still go after them and target them and say, hey, when your authority becomes active, are you looking for dispatch service, or are you looking for help? If you are, consider us as a service. And this is what we provide. This, and this, right? So there's methods, strategies, ways, concepts to do that. Okay. All right. Anything else? So August 29th, we are having our low board mastermind seminar. September 4th, which is a Labor Day, that Monday through that Friday, which would be the first week of September. And then the third week, we'll also have it. But we're having our live with me in-person weekend trainings here in Virginia at the Exodus Logistics Learning Center itself. Seats are limited. The sooner you register, the better. Okay. And we're having activities afterwards. We may go bowling. We may go out to the casinos. We may go out to dinner. We may do a meet and greet, take pictures, and say, "Hey, this is Charles in the flesh." Right? Is carrier source good to find carriers too? I'm assuming you're referring to DD carriersource.io. It should be. You still want to vet them. Any third-party software that's used to find loads, carriers, and things of that nature, you want to vet the carriers with the governing website that vets the carriers, which is safer. All other third-party vetting tools are sourcing their data and their stats from Safer. So it's just better to go to the source, the Safer website, look their DOT, MC, or the name up, and then get the data that you need, and then make your decision there. Okay. So, but yeah, carriersource.io. There are a few others out there. The names escape me now. I have to go to my website, but yeah. Okay. All right. All right, people are calling me too. So I meant to say that brokers generally don't want to work with newly registered MC authorities. I understand that. So in our training, FAHDMA2, we have a list and we're updating it periodically of brokers who do work with new authority motor carriers who just had the age of their authority is like 6 months or a year or less. So we work with those. Or we have resources of brokers who work with them. I'll say it like that. So, but yes. So how can I get old MCs to work with me exclusively? Communication, talking, giving them the value that they require. You know, that's an easy one. Give them what they want. Don't promise them anything, but let them know that you will try to get them what they want. First of all, you have to understand what they want. You're a problem solver as a dispatcher, right? So you're asking them, well, what do you see? What is your equipment type? What types of loads do you move? What's your rate to move these loads? And what parts of the country do you like to travel in? Right? Once you get all that, then you say, okay, you will go from there. Well, I'm willing to work with you if you're willing to work with me. Let's see if we can find some freight for you. And then you use your resources. If you're a part of our training, you have resources. If you are independent, you have your own resources. But in any case, you have resources, whether it's with us or yourself. And then you try your best to provide the services that you spoke to the carrier about that you were going to provide, namely the freight loads, and keep them running consistently in such a way that you move them towards what's called dedicated freight or dedicated consistent lanes. So, okay. Any other questions? All right. For those of you who are listening in here today who are members of the Exodus Logistics Learning Center's Dispatcher One-on-One Training for Beginners, of course, we have our training this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's on our website, which is the 6th. Well, for our ongoing members, sometimes we invite guests in, and I'll probably do that this Sunday. So if you are not a member, you can come in as a guest. You won't have access to what you see on the screen, but at least you see some of the resources and tools that we present, so that you can kind of get an understanding of how we operate as a training provider. So, where can I find a list of brokers that do work with new carriers? Any people who do provide trainings, you may have someone who has a list. We have a list, but it's in our portal for our students, right? You create your own list as you come across brokers over time that's willing to work with your carrier who has a new authority. You just notate that particular broker and keep that list over time as you get other brokers that work with new authority carriers. So, but we've built ours over time and it's in our portal and it's a benefit for our students, our members. So that's something we don't particularly share with everyone. So, okay. Great question, though. All right, guys, I'll get off of here. And for those again who are students and guests, this Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 days from now, today's Friday, we'll have our, on Zoom, we'll have our Dispatcher One-on-One Training for Beginners. Okay. And then as a repeat, every Friday this month from 2 to 4 or 1 to 4, Legacy Dispatchers has their live Zoom calls for cold calling. And then this Tuesday, August 29th, Legacy Dispatchers in the Exodus Logistics Learning Center, us, we're having our low board mastermind seminar. We put the links in here. And then September 4th, the week of September 4th, I'm having my live in-person week-long training in dispatching at my Exodus Logistics Learning Center for the dispatcher side, and on the freight broker side, dispatchers is 9 a.m. to noon, freight brokers is 1 to 5, and then afterwards we'll socialize, okay? So register for any of those that you feel, if you're in the area, you happen to be in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, you want to come meet us in person, spend a week with us, get some training, hang out, socialize, get to know each other. That's that. August 29th, that's online. The Low Board Mastermind Seminar, August 29th, that's Tuesday. And then every Friday this month, we're having with Legacy Dispatchers live cold call trainings where you get to call carriers, real carriers, and practice on what to say to get over that fear of cold calling. Okay, so those are the updates. Go to the website to get all the details of what I just mentioned. www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. Let me put the link up here instead of telling you. Let me show it to you, right? So navigate the website. All right. So, all right, guys. Enjoy your Friday. Be safe. And I will see you guys on Sunday in Zoom, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, whatever time zone you're in, kind of match that to the time zone of our trainings. Okay. All right.